Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto had a secret harem of ANBU beauties Yugao, Anko, Hana and others, part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please give me hype instead of comment and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Ibiki walked up, and decided to help Naruto out some. Sorry about that Tenten, he had an accident a few weeks ago, and it cost him his voice. So don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. Tenten released a sigh of relief on hearing this. His name is Uzumaki Naruto, he is here with Anko and myself. We came to look for some shuriken and kunai, as well as holsters for them, for him to start practicing with. He want to join the ninja academy. Now Naruto, are there any shuriken or kunai that you like? Just point them out and we can get them for you, alright. Naruto nodded his head, his mood slightly better than as was seconds ago. He pointed at the Hira shuriken, and a set of flying kunai, designed mainly for throwing. He also pointed at a regular set of kunai. Tenten, do you have those in the training model? I wouldn't want Naruto here to cut himself up too much with them before he got the hang of them. Tenten nodded, and went into the back of the store to get the items. Oh yeah, could you get some holsters for them as well? Wouldn't do to have him running around without them, bellowed Ibiki before Tenten got too far away. While this was going on, Anko was busy talking with Tenten's father, Satomu Higurashi. Yeah, I'm not here for myself today, I'm here with Ibiki and the brat, Naruto. I was hoping to get him a training weight suit. So if ya don't mind, could you grab one about his size, and not too heavy, just a few pounds. I don't want to kill the kid right off the bat. Make sure it can be adjusted too, just in case he gets used to it quick. So toss in some free weights I can add in. Might as well make it a full body suit for now. Laughing, Satomu went into the weight corner and looked for the right thing. He was glad someone was finally trying to help out the Uzumaki boy. The kid deserved to be helped, and not beaten by people. If he didn't have his own family to worry about he would have helped the kid out. But there have been some in the past who tried that, and their family was the target of numerous threats. Being a single father made him want to stay away from things that might hurt his daughters. After about 10 minutes he came back with the items needed. When asked how much, he just said, "Keep your money, this is all on the house. Consider it a present for Naruto, and we are even. Keep him out of trouble, and feel free to come back by when he needs something else." Before they left, Tenten called out, "I hope to see you again Naruto, be sure to come back when you are ready for the real kunai and shuriken." Naruto waved back to her, and nodded, letting her know he would be sure to do that. Anko thanks the man, and walked over to where Ibiki and Naruto were waiting. Ibiki led them out of the store, and to a clothing shop just down the street. When they entered, the shop owner didn't hold back a glare directed at Naruto. But noticing who Naruto was with quickly changed his mind. "Welcome, how can I help you today?" Nodding, Anko and Ibiki just led Naruto to the back of the store. "Let's see now, any colors you like Naruto?" asked Ibiki. Naruto looked around the room, and saw a crimson color, that looked almost like the color of fire. It had orange and yellow mixed into the crimson, making it look like the cloth was set afire. Ibiki and Anko noticed what he was looking at, so Ibiki asked, "Naruto, you want something in that color?" Naruto almost nodded his head affirmative, until he thought of something else. He motioned for something to write on, and surprisingly Anko had a notepad handy, along with a pen. "I was wondering about some black pants, like those over there." Here Naruto pointed at some black pants on the wall. They were called BDUs, or battle dress uniform. They came in all colors, but Naruto wanted the black ones. They had large pockets on the sides, that buttoned down, and some could be made to zip up. There was one on each pant leg. There were also large pockets on the seat of the pants that could do the same thing. On the waist was an adjustable string to tighten or loosen them depending on the person wearing them. The same thing could be done down at the ankle of the pants. The pants looked like they would be good tactical pants. Perfect for having to carry multiple items, either in the pockets, or in the pants that had built-in kunai, shuriken and scroll holsters. They could also be reinforced with a chain mesh, to make them a little more combat-ready, mostly to protect from shuriken and some kunai. I also like those jackets that are the same style, except maybe have them made to hold some kunai or shuriken on the arms. Then there are the red shirts, like the color I was looking at a minute ago, and sandals like the ones you guys have. Ibiki and Anko were both surprised that he was able to select clothes that would be comfortable, and still usable for combat if needed. The ones he selected would not hinder his movements, and would still offer good protection, and access to his tools when needed. There is something else. I want something put on the pack of the jacket, that goes well with my last name, according to my Ne-chan. With that Naruto drew what he was shown by Hikari, a swirl, that looked like a small whirlpool, or a spiral. If you could, have the background in red, and the spiral lines in a silver thread. That was Naruto's idea, the colors at least. He wanted to have them look like the colors of Hikari's fur. Anko nodded, and grabbed several pairs of each, and handed them to their shopkeeper, along with the request to have them mesh reinforced, and the designs made on the jacket and shirt. Next Ibiki took Naruto to another part of the store to find him some undergarments, most likely boxers of some kind. Naruto ended up picking some with foxes on them. One pair was black, and had a red nine-tailed fox, another was blue with a fox that looked like it was made out of lightning. Another was red, with a silver eight-tailed fox. Ibiki picked a couple of each, and purchased them. By this time they had the clothes back, and a backpack, and a duffel bag for Naruto to use. Finally, having bought all of Naruto's clothes, and other things he may need for the trip, they decided to head back to the hospital to let Naruto get some more rest. They let him know they would be by in the morning to pick him up before going to the Hokage's office. Oh, and Naruto, do not travel around the village right now with any shuriken or kunai for now. I don't want you flaunting them around, or losing them. Besides from that, you should wait till you are signed into the academy to carry them around out in public, was the last thing Ibiki said before leaving with Anko. With those words, they departed, and went to pack their own items for the trip. Not long after they left, Naruto, unable to get to sleep, decided to head out of the hospital to try to sneak to the park. Naruto, you shouldn't be doing this, you really should get some sleep. You have a long trip ahead of you after all. I know, but I just want to enjoy the day some more. It's a nice day, nice and sunny, and hardly a cloud in the sky. Please. I won't stay out there for long, I promise. PPPPPLLLLL. After that, Naruto mentally turned his puppy dog eyes, and pouting lips to his adopted sister to plead with her. Hikari couldn't help but cave into that look. She knew she was in for trouble in the future if he knew how effective that was on her. Fine, fine. Just for an hour, not for any longer. Yes, I promise, just an hour. I want to go to the park and see if much has changed. With that, Naruto took off towards the park, not bothering to worry about the looks people were giving him. He got to the park, and started to walk around, enjoying the smell of the forest that came from the back of the park, and the scent of some of the flowers nearby. He saw several kids his age playing over by one of the swing sets. One had some strange tattoos or birthmarks on his face, in the shape of a spiral on each cheek. He looked rather big for his age, not in height, but in the size of his belly. The kid seemed to always have his hands in one of two places. Either in a bag of chips, or in his mouth. What made him look pretty funny to Naruto was the scarf around his neck, that looked like it could be wrapped around the top of the swing set a couple of times. He had brown hair from what Naruto could see, and he couldn't tell the color of his eyes. The next person Naruto saw was a girl, wearing a purple outfit. She had her hair up in a ponytail at the top of her head. Her hair was also blonde, but a paler shade than Naruto's. He had no idea what color to call it, but it reflected the light off of it pretty well. She had some bangs that came down, and just barely covered the right side of her face, and obscuring that eye. Right now, she was barely swinging in one of the swings on the set they were at. She seemed to have a very loud voice too. Naruto could hear her screaming out, "Choji, you shouldn't eat so much. You could make yourself sick again, and I don't feel like taking you to your house or the hospital again. Get Shikamaru to take you this time." Naruto could only guess Choji was the one stuffing his face, and Shikamaru must have been the one laying on the ground, looking at the sky. Shikamaru was currently laying down on his back, and looking up at the sky. He had black hair, that looked like someone was trying to put into some kind of strange design on top of his head. He had on a white shirt, with a design in the middle of the chest. What it said Naruto had no idea. His pants were a baggy black pants, that just piled around his legs, as he laid down on the ground. If Naruto wasn't able to see his eyes, he would swear that he was asleep. The only thing giving that away was a snort when the blonde-haired girl mentioned him taking Choji to the hospital. Naruto walked past them, and started towards the playground. As he went, he noticed some strange boys sitting under a tree, with sunglasses on, and a jacket with a collar big enough to hide most of his face and body. The boys seemed to be looking at an ant bed that was under the same tree as him. Crap, I forgot to get the sunglasses and things. I will have to try to get them before I head back to the hospital. Naruto continued towards the playgrounds, and noticed some kids a little bigger than him, picking on two girls. One had pink hair, and was wearing an orange shirt, that looked like it buttoned up the middle, and white shorts, that just barely came to her knees. She wasn't much taller than Naruto, and was currently on the ground crying. The other was a dark blue-haired girl, who had on a beige-colored jacket, with a yellow circle, and what looked like a small flame in the middle of it. One thing Naruto noticed right away though, her eyes. Her eyes were almost a solid white, with a little color in them that Naruto couldn't tell what it was. She had on black shorts, that reached just past her knees. She was doing the same as the other girl, on the ground and a little dirty after being pushed there. Naruto had no idea what was going on, but he did know that two girls, his age, were being picked on by a couple of boys older than them. He did the only thing he could think of doing. He ran over and punched the first boy as hard as he could in his left cheek. Before the other boy could do anything, Naruto spun around, and punched him as hard as possible right in the nose, causing a sickening crunch sound to be heard, and blood to come out. He followed it up with a right hook into the boy's left cheek, sending him to the ground with his friend. Both boys, stunned, looked up and saw some blonde-haired boy, that was younger than them, with a clenched fist standing over them. He had a very pissed-off look on his face. "What the hell do you think you are doing, you little brat?" yelled the first boy. The second boy mumbled something, but his hand was covering his mouth and trying to stop his nose from bleeding at the same time. Naruto just stood there, looking down at both of the boys. He would have loved to answer them, but he couldn't right now. So he did his best to give them an answer that he thought was right. He raised his hands up, and brought all of his fingers down, except for his middle fingers on each hand. "Real smart Ototo, piss the people off. I have a feeling you are going to be getting into a lot of trouble as you grow up. But at least this time you had good reason to get into a fight." Seeing this, the boy who wasn't bleeding jumped up and went to punch Naruto hard on his left cheek. Naruto ducked the punch, and tackled the boy down, and commenced trading lefts and rights to the boy's face. It wasn't long before there was a crowd of kids watching the fight. Naruto, I think that is enough, get off of the idiot now. Going any further, and you are probably got to seriously hurt him. Naruto, snap out of it, and get off the boy already. Hikari was trying to call out to him for a few seconds, and slowly got through to him. But before Naruto could get himself off, an adult came forward and pulled Naruto off of the kid. The boy had his lips busted open, and several bruises starting to form on his face. It also looked like some time from the start, and now, his nose had also been busted open, and the boy had started to cry for his mommy. Naruto spared a quick glance at his handiwork, and turned to the two girls who were on the ground, and no longer crying. Both just looked at him, surprised someone helped them, let alone a boy that was smaller than the bullies. Naruto, after wiping his hands off on his shirt, extended a hand to both girls, to help them stand back up. Both accepted his hand, and he pulled them off the sandy ground. After standing, both of them dusted themselves off, and looked at their rescuer. Naruto had a few red spots on him, where the one kid, the one who wanted his mommy, had gotten some lucky punches. His knuckles were bleeding a little from meeting the boy's teeth. But other than that, he had no real injuries, unlike his two punching bags. Anyo. I am Hyuga Hinata. Thank you for helping me, was all the dark blue-haired girl said before looking down at the ground. I'm Haruno Sakura. Thanks for helping me too. What's your name? Asked the pink-haired girl. Naruto was about to try to answer, when he heard a very loud female voice yelling at him, "You damn blonde brat, why did you do this to my little angel? Get over here so I can give you a taste of your own medicine." Naruto looked back to the bullies, and noticed a rather large woman, she was really fat, come running towards Naruto with a gleam in her eyes that promised him lots of pain. Naruto bowed quickly to Hinata and Sakura, and gave a quick wave before he decided to hightail it out of there, or else the lady might fall on him. Naruto easily outran the lady, and made it back to the hospital, forgetting once again the need for sunglasses, earplugs, and some clothes scrapes. There was no hope of getting them now, it was almost 8 p.m., according to Hikari, and he needed to get to the hospital before someone came to check on him. He had just walked into his room, when the Hokage walked in. "Ah, Naruto, nice of you to come back. I trust your walk at the park was fun." Naruto noticed the old man surrender a small chuckle, since he obviously knew what had happened. Naruto nodded his head, and quickly wrote out he was sorry for leaving without someone to follow him around. "Ah, don't worry about it too much, Naruto. Go ahead into the shower over there and get cleaned up, you will have a quick dinner, and then it is straight to bed for you. Don't plan on doing anything, 'cause I will not leave till you are sound asleep." Naruto nodded, and did as he was told. He came out 30 minutes later, dressing in a loose red t-shirt, much like his other t-shirt, and a pair of his black and red fox boxers. The Hokage laughed a little inside seeing this. Like the old man said, there was a hot meal waiting for him once he got out. Naruto looked into the bowl, and noticed that there were noodles, and a flavored water, with some vegetables. It's called ramen, it is very good, and makes for a great dinner before going to bed. Naruto quickly finished the bowl, and laid back in bed, pulling his covers up to his chest. Alright now Naruto, tomorrow you have to wake up early, Ibiki and Anko will be here to pick you up, and bring you to my office. So get plenty of rest tonight. Naruto nodded, and the Hokage turned the lights down, and silently waited for Naruto to fall asleep. Once he did, he left the room, and headed to his own home, briefly recalling the report from an ANBU scarcely over an hour and a half ago. About an hour and a half earlier in the Hokage's office. The Hokage was about to call it a day. He had managed to finish all of his paperwork early that day, and was heading for his office door. Just as he was about to open it, he heard a knock on the other side, followed by a, "Hokage-sama, I have news for you concerning Uzumaki Naruto's actions today." This was not what he wanted at the end of his day. "Come in then," was all he said as he headed back over to his desk to hear the report. He was glad he decided to have an ANBU shadow Naruto, but he didn't expect him to get into trouble so soon. The elephant-masked ANBU came in, and walked in front of the Hokage to give his report. "Hokage-sama, as per your request, I followed Uzumaki Naruto today, from the time he left the hospital, to the weapons shop, clothing store, and back to the hospital. I waited as per your request till you returned. However, shortly after Ibiki-san and Anko-san left the hospital, and dropped Uzumaki Naruto off in his room, Naruto left the hospital once again, and went towards the park." The ANBU had to stop for a second, and take a deep breath before he continued. At the park he observed several other children his age. Some include the Inoshika Cho children, an Aburame child, and finally the heir to the Hyuga clan, and the Haruno child. Most of the children he just watched, and did not talk to. However, when he came across the Hyuga and Haruno, they were being pushed around and bullied. When he saw this, he went over to the bullies, and had to physically make them understand that being a bully does not pay off. He once again stopped for another breath. After being pulled off one of the bullies by a nearby adult, he assisted both girls back to their feet, and they introduced themselves to him. However, before he could introduce himself to them, the mother of one of the bullies tried to catch Naruto, and tried to give chase to him through the park. She gave up after going from the playground to the swings, about 20 yards. From there Naruto started back towards the hospital. Once he entered, "I came here to deliver this news to you." After giving the ANBU a polite thank you, the Hokage left in his own plume of smoke, and was heading towards Naruto's room. Barely out of the hospital, and only having spent one day with Anko, and he is already flying off the hook like her. I suppose it is a good thing he had reason to. I wonder how well he did against those bullies. I will have to remember to look over the detailed report tomorrow. I hope things weren't too bad. That was about the time that he meet up with Naruto, and his hospital room. Later that night in the forest, a pale-skinned, white-eyed man was making his way quickly through the woods. Making sure to not tear his clothes, which consisted of the traditional Hyuga robes. His white robes were flying behind him as he hurried to the meeting place he had set up. He did not know what went wrong, but something happened that prevented his plans from going through. The heir to the Hyuga main house was supposed to be left alone at the park, so that it would be easier for her to be abducted. He had his alibi all planned, as well as the perfect excuse for not being able to protect the heir. The only thing is, with the heir still present, his plans were no longer able to go through. He had to escape quickly, before members of the main house could find him. So he was on his way to the person who was supposed to abduct the heir after the bullies had made her run off. Something had changed this, and he wanted to know what. After leaping from tree to tree deeper into the forest, and finally making it to a clearing. In the middle of the clearing, standing in a pool of moonlight was the person he wanted to see, a Kumo Nin. The Kumo Nin stood in the middle of the clearing, inside of a pool of moonlight. He had his Hittite adorned around his forehead, with the cloud symbol present. He wore a black vest around his torso, which barely concealed the numerous scars that ran across his body. He was well-toned, showing he stayed in the best shape possible. His pants were a mixture of blues, grays and whites, which would probably enable him to blend in well inside of his home country. Here is the woods of fire country, they did very little for him. The man himself was near 6 feet tall, with a large sword strapped across his back. The sword itself looked like a lightning bolt, all parts jagged, and sharpened enough to possibly cut through rock with enough force behind it. The last thing the Hyuga noticed was the look on the man's face. It was obvious to anyone, even a non-Hyuga, that he was pissed. The Cloud Village has been trying to get a hold of the Byakugan for years now. The main target has been the weakest of the main house, and heir of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hinata. Sadly, the latest attempt seems to have been foiled, by which the branch member had no idea why. About time you got here, Satoshi. I was beginning to wonder if you forgot our deal. Though I guess you are merely here to save your own life, was the first thing the Kumo Nin said to Hyuga Satoshi as he landed. Satoshi could tell the large man was more than just angry for having failed. Something more must have happened. I am sorry for being late, I had to ensure that none of the main house followed me. If they did, this could be more than a little dangerous for us both. Rest assured, I did not forget our deal. I kept my part of the deal, and made sure the heir was left alone, easy pickings for you or another Cloud Nin could grab here. What went wrong after that I have nothing to do with Hakai-san. Oh, you mean leaving the girl alone in the park, that was leaving her open to be taken. You take me for a fool. Do you know how many families were in that park alone? Not to mention the number of Konoha clans that frequent it. Here, let me help you out. There was the Harunos, Naras, Akamichis, Yamanakas, Abarames, and I'm sure the blasted Inuzukas probably go there as well. Do you know what that means? It makes it nearly impossible to carry out my mission. If I was able to take the girl, I wouldn't be able to get to the border before I was stopped. It's no wonder this fool is part of the branch house, he can't even understand simple things like this. Was all that went through Hakai's mind at that time. This Hyuga was an idiot, he was beginning to wonder why he recruited the fool to help him. It is true that the hatred between the two houses is useful, but there had to have been someone more capable of doing this job than who was currently helping him. I am sorry about that. When I came to the park with here, I did not see those families there, lied the Hyuga. To be honest, he knew other clans went there, but this was the normal park that the heir was taken to. Going anywhere else might have raised more suspicion than needed. He did not like the main house, and would do anything to hurt them. But going too far out of the way would raise questions he did not want to answer to the council for. In fact, the main reason they went to this park were the orders from her father, Hyuga Hiyashi. The park was close to the Hyuga compound, and easy to get to if an alert was called. Not only that, but with the wife of the head, and the mother of the heir close to her due date, Hiyashi wanted his family close by. You take me for a fool, Satoshi. I was at the park nearly 30 minutes before you came. The Naras, Akamichis and Yamanakas were already there. Shortly after you arrived, the other families came in. So, let me ask you a very important question. Why, oh why would so many important families from the Leaf Village bring their children there to play? Here he stopped for a second. Oh wait, could it be because this park is close to the Hyuga compound? You baka. You have any idea how many Hyuga eyes watch this park? I was a fool for ever thinking you could assist me with this plan. Maybe, it is not a coincidence that you watch the weak heir. Perhaps they want a weakling to watch her, in hopes of them being killed. It amazes me how you have lived this long. But your luck has run out today. You failed in your job, and I cannot have any loose ends that know my name and face walking around. Before Satoshi knew what was going on, Hakai had pulled out his massive sword, and swung it down, over his head. In one fluid motion, he brought it down on Satoshi's head, and cut straight down the entire length of the body. All of this was just a flash to Satoshi, like a flash of lightning during a storm. After the flash was over, a trickle of blood came down from the top of his head, slowly forming a line, and staining his white robes. The robes themselves slowly ripped apart, as did Satoshi's entire body. Split straight down the middle with the perfection of an expert swordsman. The two halves of Satoshi fell to the ground with a loud thump. The blood pooling around the halves, as well as the various inner parts of the body. The insides of Satoshi slowly sloshed onto the ground for the animals and insects to feast on. This is what happens to those who fail me. I suppose not all Hyuga members are as great as they are made out to be. With this statement, Hawkeye placed his sword back upon his back, and jumped away into the trees, leaving behind his failure, and dreading having to report this failed mission to the Raikage Hospital. Next morning, Naruto was in a deep sleep. So deep he wouldn't hear the door open to his room, he probably wouldn't hear another demon attacking the village. Hikari was watching his slumbering form inside of the mindscape world. She felt sorry for him. He was going to be the center of unwanted attention as he grew up, and she could only hope to help him keep it together. But she could only do so much. She couldn't give him the comfort that he probably longed for. She couldn't hold him, or soothe him when he was upset. She was unable to move past the walls of the seal. Even if she could, and did right now, it would probably kill Naruto. Her power would surge through him, and such power could easily kill his young body. That is why she hoped he could find human companionship. A human, or humans that could be there for him, and help him when she could not. From what she could tell, he already had 3 people that looked ready to help him no matter what the case: Morino Ibiki, Mitarashi Anko, and the Sandaime Hokage. Morino Ibiki was a puzzle to her. She could tell he wasn't one to normally show such emotion, but when he was around Naruto, he seemed to open up more. He seemed to want to look after Naruto like an older brother would. He looked ready to do anything he could to protect Naruto, and showed he cared a great deal for him the first time they ever meet. Of course, Naruto does not remember his first meeting with Ibiki too well, since Naruto was unconscious at the time. Ibiki had been the one to come with the Sandaime, and rush Naruto to the hospital as quickly as possible, without further injuring him. He had even come close to killing several workers at the hospital for not wanting to help Naruto, and some for trying to kill him while he was in a coma. Hikari was certain that he would look out for Naruto. If anything, he would be a big brother that would always be there for him. Mitarashi Anko was another puzzle. She had the scent of the snake, Orochimaru. Yet she did not seem like him, from what Hikari could recall. Anko, while she appeared bloodthirsty and ruthless, seemed to be hiding another side to her persona. A softer, gentler side, that had not seen the light of day for some years now. It only seemed as if this side started coming out when she heard of what happened to Naruto. All adults, and ninjas knew who and what Uzumaki Naruto was. There were a few that could see him for Uzumaki Naruto, and not the container for a demon, or the demon itself. Anko seemed to be in the middle of both groups. She knew who Naruto was, and she saw him as the demon container, and a little of the demon itself. In a way, he was just like her, living in the shadow of something they had very little control of, and would have to live with it for the rest of their lives. Naruto had Hikari, and Anko had her previous relationship with Orochimaru. After Orochimaru left the village, Anko was treated cruelly by the village. Many saw her as Orochimaru himself, and would treat her as they would any other monster or traitor. They tried to beat her, and attacked her. She fought back, and tried to defy what they called her. But the more she did, the harder it became. So one day, she created a new version of herself, the current one. She put on a costume of sorts, one that made her ruthless, and bloodthirsty. It made people step out of her way when she came walking through, and made them not want to cross her. She became a very adept ninja. She fought her way up through the ranks, and did not get discouraged when the council and other high-ranking officials tried to stop her from advancing. The first hurdle she had to jump was becoming a Chunin. Many did not think she could be trusted, that she was a spy for her former master. She fought as hard as she could against this, and slowly earned the right to become a Chunin. From there was another hurdle for her to jump. One that almost seemed impossible to cross, becoming a Jonin. Again, they would not let her, stating she did not have the skills at first. But when she defeated numerous Jonins in single combat, they decided that she just couldn't be trusted. Not only did she know numerous kinjutsus, or forbidden techniques, but she still had the reputation of being close to Orochimaru in the past. This time though, there was nothing she could do that would change the views of those in charge of the promotions. Then came the Sandaime. He knew she was not anything like Orochimaru. Maybe she was a little uncontrollable at times, and might cross a few lines in fights, but she was nothing like her former sensei. She tried to change herself, and separate herself from her past. He knew this, and he even went as far to acknowledge her work publicly on several occasions, all in hope of helping her gain promotion to Jonin. When that didn't work, he made a special exception for her. She was very talented, and knew things about Orochimaru that few others knew. She had knowledge of several kinjutsus, and was a proven ninja. She had skills, brains, and knew how to use them effectively. So he took it upon himself to make her a special Jonin, under his direct command. He seemed to know she was hiding a deeply hurt past, and he was hoping that one day she would find a way to heal that past. She was betrayed, and hated by many of the village. She had slowly gained respect from many in the village, though it might have been more out of fear than anything else. When Anko heard the news of Naruto, she knew just how he must have felt, and she wanted to make sure the same thing that happened to her did not happen to him. From what Hikari could tell, Anko was willing to do the same as Ibiki, be there for Naruto when others shunned him. Anko, despite the act she put on, was willing to let the boy cry on her shoulder, and comfort him. Despite Hikari's earlier thoughts of Anko, Anko did not seem interested in Naruto in any physical way. She was more interested in helping him mentally and emotionally. She was willing to be a big sister, just like Hikari. True, Anko could try to be a mother to Naruto, but it seemed Anko herself wasn't ready just yet for that big of a role. So she would do the next best thing, be there as a big sister, and help him, and teach him. She would make sure the feelings of the village did not get to him, and help to show him how to hide his feelings. That way no one would be able to take advantage of them, and hurt him more. The last person Hikari knew would be there, the Sandaime Hokage. He has always been there whenever possible for Naruto. From the time he was just a newborn, to the current time. True, he could not be there all the time, and stop everything. Being a Hokage kept him busy throughout most of the day. But Hikari knew that whenever he had a chance, he would come visit Naruto. He would act as the grandfather figure for Naruto. The wise old grandfather, who would offer sagely advice to him when he needed it. Who would try to steer him along the right path, and help him make the right choices. Hikari knew that he cared for the entire village, and each person was special to him. But she also knew that if given the chance to help on an individual level, like now with Naruto, he could and would do everything in his power to help. And so far, he had proven her right. Slowly Naruto started to wake up, the sounds of the hospital waking up drifting into the room. The sounds of nurses checking on patients, and brining them the morning meals. Naruto became fully awake when he heard his door open. Years spent on the street still had an effect on him. He became cautious at first, not sure of where he was, till seconds after looking around the room. Then he started to relax, and noticed that he was drooling as the smells of breakfast came into his room. Naruto looked towards the door to see a nurse bringing in a couple of carts. Naruto was surprised to see them both with multiple trays of food. The first thing that came to his mind sadly, was that most of it was for other patients. That was until the nurse smiled at him, and brought both carts over towards his bed, and left the room. Naruto's grin threatened to tear his facial muscles from the size of it. He sat up in his bed, and reached for the first tray of food, which consisted of pancakes, syrup, eggs, sausage, toast, and grapefruit, along with a pitcher of milk, orange juice, and one of water, all sitting on the cart. Naruto didn't waste any time, and commenced digging in. Naruto wasted no time in finishing off most of the food, and barely leaving 3 trays of food left on the second cart. None of the pitchers had anything left in them. Naruto could honestly say, for once in his life, he was full. He had never before eaten so well in his life. Shortly after he had finished, Dr. Ojiro came into the room to check on him. He too was surprised by the speed Naruto was able to devour the hospital food. Normally he wouldn't wish the food onto any of his patients. In fact, he would encourage family members to bring something from the outside for them to eat. For Naruto though, it seemed to be just fine. He could hardly imagine how he would react when he tried actual food outside of the hospital. Well, Naruto, it seems you are doing quite well. I see no reason for you not to go on your little trip with Ibiki and Anko today. They should be up in an hour to pick you up. In the meantime, why don't you get cleaned up, and change clothes? Naruto nodded his head enthusiastically as he jumped off the bed and ran into the small room where the shower and bath was. Not long after that, the doctor could hear the water running, and the sound of Naruto splashing around. No matter how much he has been through, he is still a kid at heart. I can only hope he can stay as pure as he grows up. There is no telling what things he might face on his quest to become a ninja, was the last thoughts the doctor had as he left the room to check on his other patients. Naruto came out of the bathroom almost 30 minutes later, dressed in his black BDU pants, with a red t-shirt sporting a spiral in the back, outlined in black on the outside, with silver forming the spiral on the inside. It seemed to be a turtleneck shirt, and covered up his neck, and the scars there very well, even though it was uncomfortable to him. He grabbed one of his jackets, and put it on, only buttoning up the bottom-most button. After putting on his sandals, he grabbed his bags that carried most of his other clothes. They also carried something more important to Naruto, his brand new shuriken and kunai. Yes, I can't wait to learn how to use them. I hope Ibiki-san and Anko-san will show me how all the way to Wave Country. At this thought is when both Ibiki and Anko came walking into the room, and saw Naruto acting like he was throwing things at an imaginary object. Watching this, both had to hold back their laughs. That was until Anko got an evil smile on her face. Well, would you look at that Ibiki, looks like the brat doesn't need us to teach him anything. I say we let him learn how to use kunai and shuriken all on his own. As she finished that, she smiled as a shocked Naruto spun around to look at them. No, I have no idea how to use them. I was just playing around. I really hope they still decide to teach me how. Nei-chan, if they don't, could you show me how? Naruto, I have no idea how you humans use those things you call shuriken and kunai. That is just something I never needed to learn, honestly. I was more adept with other weapons skills when I took on a human form. Now if you asked me how to use a few, say, a set of shuko or a shiko, I might be able to help you out. But those puny things I have no idea on how to use. So you might want to get back on their good side. Hikari could tell Anko was joking around, just by the tone of her voice, and the look on Ibiki's face. But why not have a little fun with Naruto? After talking with her, Naruto quickly ran over to Ibiki and Anko. He grabbed Anko's hand and looked up at her with pleading eyes, begging her as best as he could to still teach him. At first Anko was surprised by the look and the contact, but the longer she looked in those big bright blue eyes, she crumbled like an old oak in a typhoon. Her facial features visible softened, and a rare heartfelt smile crept across her face. Okay, Naruto, we will still show you how. Just remember, they are not toys, so don't treat them like they are. This all came out of Anko in a tone of voice that Ibiki had never heard hers before. She sounded sad and reassuring, almost like a mother or a big sister would do. She wanted to comfort the obviously distressed Naruto. Her words had the intended effect. Hearing her say those words, his face lightened up, and he jumped around the room. He started to do a little victory dance, and was interrupted halfway through it. Hey, Naruto, you don't want to keep the Hokage waiting now, do you? Naruto shook his head violently to indicate no. Well then grab your bags, and let's get going. When we get to his office, Anko's got a nice little surprise for you. Hearing his voice, and seeing that small almost evil smile on his face, almost made Naruto wonder what he had gotten himself into. Shaking it off, he grabbed his bags and followed them out of the room, and out the doors of the hospital. Walking down the street, towards the Hokage Tower, Naruto once again felt the glares of the villagers on him. He looked around, and saw some of the adults looking at him, eyes filled with hate and anger. As he looked around again, he noticed two familiar faces. One face belonged to a boy that was probably a few years older than Naruto. His face was battered and bruised, almost as if he had met a wall one too many times. His lips were in no better shape, as they were puffed up, and fresh scabs in several spots on them, and his right eye was swollen shut. Naruto knew who the boy was as soon as he saw him. Next to the boy was that fat lady Naruto had seen from yesterday, the mom. Oh boy, this isn't going to be good. Nei-chan, have any idea on how I can get out of this? Nothing I can do yet. I haven't given you any of your kitsune abilities, except for the healing. Just hope Ibiki and Anko are ready to stop her. That's real comforting. That lady looks like a mad bull right now. I know she saw me. Her stupid son pointed at me. Naruto was suddenly snapped out of his thoughts, as a hand grabbed him by the collar of his jacket, and yanked him back away from Ibiki and Anko. Naruto, stunned, but still knew what had happened, opened his mouth and yelled a silent scream, hoping that something would come out. Nothing did. All he heard was a voice that sounded winded from the small exertion put out from grabbing Naruto. So, this is the brat who beat you up, Sai. Well, he doesn't look like much, but I know what he is. I will be sure to make him pay for what he did to you. With that final thought, she raised her free hand to strike Naruto across the head with a piece of firewood she had bought. She swung down, and was about to hit her target, till she suddenly stopped. All sound in the crowded street stopped at the same time. The lady looked down at her throat, and saw a kunai being held too close to her throat. Holding the kunai was the hand of a very pissed off Anko. Looking at her arm, she noticed Ibiki holding her arm, who had a scowl on his face that could wither a plant. He had her arm in just the right position to break it, should she want to try to continue her motion. The lady just gulped at the looks and feelings she was getting from the two Jonin. The other villagers were just as stunned, many staring with their mouths wide open. Finally, Anko broke the silence. Just what the hell do you think you're doing, bitch? You want to try to hurt my Ototo? Well, do you? Let me give you a hint to what your answer should be. This was all Anko hissed right into the lady's ear, as she pressed the kunai into her throat slightly, just enough to draw a little blood. Next to speak was Ibiki from the lady's right-hand side. I would suggest you drop that log, because if you don't, you will never use this arm again. After you drop the log, let Naruto go. Then maybe, I will let you use your arm again in a few weeks. All of this was delivered in a calm, cold tone of voice as Ibiki looked the lady straight in the eyes. His face betrayed no feelings, but his voice promised immense pain if she did not comply with his statement. Trembling, she had no other choice. She slowly dropped the log, and then slowly put Naruto back on the ground, and released his jacket. She felt the pressure on her neck lighten up a little, and the same occurred with her arm. Now, wasn't that easy? I don't know what your problem is, my Naruto, but I suggest you find a more civil way to go about solving it. Finding her voice again, the lady finally spoke up uncertainly. He beat my little angel up yesterday at the park. Look at my poor baby's face. He was laughed at today at the academy when he went in with those bruises. While that little monster doesn't have a scratch on him. He had to have had help to do this to my baby, and I'm going to make each one of them pay for it. Ibiki looked down at Naruto, who was still a little shocked, but shook his head no at the lady's last statement. After that he pointed at himself, and the boy, and acted like he was fighting. Ibiki guessed this was to mean they did fight. Naruto next pointed at a girl walking by, then at the boy again. He made the fighting motion again before pointed back at the girl, then the ground. Ibiki wasn't the best at charades, but he could guess that the boy had done something to some girls, maybe pushed them down on the ground or something. I don't know what happened, but I don't think you are telling us the entire story. We have an appointment with the Hokage, and if you keep us waiting, who knows what he may do to you. If you want to continue this matter, feel free to wait for us outside of the Hokage's office. If not, then drop this right now, and maybe, next time Anko-san won't kill you where you stand. To say the lady was scared did not do her reaction justice. Her face visible paled when she heard the last part, then remembered what the lady had been close to doing minutes ago. She also paled more when she remembered the words Anko spoke to her. Just what the hell do you think you're doing, bitch? You want to try to hurt my Odoto? Was this little brat really her brother? Did she want to push her luck, and get in bigger trouble with the three? For some reason Ibiki was protecting this thing that she only knew as a monster, and the whore Anko, that's what everyone thought she was calling it her little brother. She needed answers, and the only one who could give them to her, with her life and body intact, was the Hokage. I'll go with you to see Hokage-sama, and afterwards, we can fix this little problem of your brat misbehaving. Anko hissed at the lady when she spoke of Naruto that way. She knew that Naruto had to have had a good reason for doing whatever he did. It took all of Ibiki's strength, and Anko's willpower to keep her from filling every cavity of the fat woman with every sharp and pointed object she had on her. Ibiki had to drag Anko the rest of the way to the Hokage's office. Once outside, the secretary let them into the office, and asked the lady to wait outside while they discussed some important matters. Ah, welcome Anko, Ibiki and Naruto. I was wondering what was taking you so long. Anko was the first to speak up. Oh, we just happened to run into a cow with a death wish. But I can handle that after our meeting. This was all she said. Each and every word coated in a fake sweet and innocent voice. Each word dripping with venom and sarcasm. Ibiki had never seen her this upset before, barring any discussion of Orochimaru. Sorry about the delay Hokage-sama, but as Anko said, we were delayed by an incident, that we hoped you could help us settle after this meeting. Very well Ibiki, but let us get underway now. Naruto, I am sure you are wondering why you are here. First thing is, that I have found some people willing to adopt you. What? I can't believe it. Someone wants to finally adopt me. I wonder who they are. Will they be as nice to me as Ibiki-san and Anko-chan? I hope they are. I'm sure you are wondering who it is. Well, no need to keep you waiting I suppose. If you turn around you will see them right behind you. Naruto quickly spun around to look behind him. When he did all he saw was Ibiki and Anko. He leaned to the left a little, hoping to see behind Ibiki. He didn't see anything. He leaned to the right next, hoping to see behind Anko. Again nothing. All Naruto saw behind him was Ibiki and Anko. There is no one there. Just Ibiki-san and Anko-chan. Is he playing a trick on me? Ototo, did you ever stop to think that it just might be Ibiki-san and Anko-chan? After all, Anko-chan did call you her Ototo earlier when the lady attacked you. No sooner had Hikari finished this did Naruto jump up and try to wrap his arms around a very startled Ibiki and Anko. He buried his face into the sides of both of them, sobbing softly. He finally had a family. He had hoped these would be the ones to adopt him when he heard the Hokage say those words. But he didn't expect it. Now he was just too happy. It was almost a dream come true for him. Anko squatted down so that she was eye to eye with Naruto and wrapped him in a hug. As she did, she rubbed her hand up and down his back, hoping to calm him down. Damn, where did this come from? Maternal instincts must be kicking in on me. But I hate to see him cry, it almost makes me want to. Anko stopped there, as she picked Naruto up, and held him, with his head buried in her shoulder. Ibiki smiled, a soft loving smile at the scene. He playfully ruffled Naruto's hair, and tried his best to get him to stop crying. Slowly Naruto stopped his crying, and looked up at both of them with the biggest and brightest smile they had ever seen on his face. The Hokage cleared his throat to get everyone's attention once again. Once all three were looking at him, a bright flash filled the room, blinding Naruto, Ibiki and Anko. As their eyes cleared they heard the small laugh of the Hokage. He stood in front of all three with a camera, and a quickly developing photo. The photo was of Anko holding Naruto, with his arms wrapped around her neck, and Ibiki's hand playfully ruffling Naruto's hair once again. Each one had a look of utter surprise on their face. Well, now that that is done, here are some pictures for you three. I thought we might as well start the collection early. So I snapped a few pictures, most of them are from just now. As for where you will be living, Anko has decided that you will live with her. When she is away on missions, you will be with Ibiki. Should both be away at missions on the same time, then we shall work something out at that time. But family matters aside, you three are to head to Wave Country in search of the lair of a demon lord. Once you get there, Naruto will be the only unable to enter the lair. So Ibiki, Anko, you will have to stand guard away from it, go by what Naruto says. Do not go any further than what he says is safe. If you do, there is no telling what could happen. You are also free to train him however you see fit along the way there and back. This will all be in preparations for him to join the Ninja Academy when he turns the age of 6. All three nodded, and Naruto was bouncing from foot to foot, not being able to contain how happy he was at the sound of that. Oh yes, one last thing, try not to be too hard on Naruto. Just try to start with the basics first, and worry about the advanced things as he gets better. Yes Hokage-sama, answered Ibiki and Anko in unison. Now, what is this about a problem on the way here? Ibiki spoke up before Anko was able to. Well, there seems to be a lady outside who claims that Naruto beat up her son. The boy he badly bruised, half of his face is swollen as a matter of fact. She thinks there may have been others helping Naruto do this. Ah, yes I know what she is talking about. She is very much correct. But only in Naruto beating her son up. There was no one else involved, except the other bully, and the two young ladies who were being bullied. Please though, let her in so that I don't need to explain this situation twice. Anko grinned, and walked towards the door. Hey Buffalo Butt, get in here, the Hokage wants to talk about your son's newest look. A few minutes later, the large woman and her son walked into the room. As they moved towards the Hokage's desk the lady glared at Anko for her comments. Anko did not flinch, and returned with her own death glare, that made the lady turn away, and her son whimper like a dog. The Hokage winced when he saw the boy's face. He had read the ANBU's report earlier this morning, but the report didn't seem to detail the damage that could have been done by Naruto. What the report stated seemed to gloss over the event as just a small fight. What the Hokage saw in front of him was signs of a very one-sided fight, with the boy being beaten badly. Hokage-sama, I wish to place a complaint on two Jonin. They attacked me in the market for no reason. They both threatened my life as well. I also wish for this thing to be punished for what he did to my son. By the end of this little rant, Anko was visibly shaking at the way the woman referred to Naruto. Yes, I understand. However, I also witnessed what occurred on the road here. You see, I was checking to see what was keeping them from being here on time. I would have to say that I am fairly disappointed at your behavior, madam. You tried to assault a young boy, for what is a schoolyard fight. You see, the two Jonin in this room right now, also happen to be Naruto's legal guardians, his brother and sister. So they did what anyone would do, and protected him. Now I fail to see why a parent should step in when your son was in the wrong from the start. I have an ANBU report here in front of me, that described the situation from yesterday. Here, allow me to read it to you. The lady could not believe what she was hearing. Her angel of a son was pushing around the heir of the Hyuga clan, as well as the only daughter of the Haruno family. There had to be a mistake, her baby had to be the one to come to the rescue, and not the thing in front of her. Hokage-sama, please excuse me, but I feel that your ANBU must be mistaken. There is no reason why my son would do that. Before she was finished, the Hokage cut her off. Yes, I thought someone might say that. So I contacted the members of the families that were there. They all said the same thing, the Naras, Yamanakas, Akamichis, Harunos, and the Abarames. They all say the same thing. That a blonde boy, matching Naruto's description, came over, punched the boy that was with your son, then turned and did the same to your son. This was before any other parents could get there, as many had left to do some shopping nearby. Normally, this would not be a problem, since there has always been a branch house member with the heir. Yesterday, that member was missing for still unknown reasons. I think if they were there, your son might be in worse condition, if he was behaving as described by the ANBU present. The lady could do nothing but stand there dumbstruck at this news. How could she contest the same story being told by so many people? Sigh. We need to get home and have a nice little talk about lying to mommy. With that said, she walked out dragging her young son kicking and screaming out of the Hokage's tower. What was going to happen to him, no one knew or cared. Ah, now Ibiki, and Anko. I think it is time you three should be going. Have a safe journey, and hopefully you three will return shortly. Anko, Ibiki, and Naruto all gave a short bow of respect, and started to head out. Oh wait, I forgot the second surprise for you, Naruto. It is the training suit that was bought for you yesterday. I think you should try it on right now, just so we are sure it fits you. The Hokage brought out a large box, and slid it across his desk to Naruto. Naruto went to grab the box, and pull it off the desk, only to have it fall from his hands, and land on the floor with a loud clang. Naruto had no idea what made that sound, but opened the box to see a suit that looked like the right size for him, and made out of the same thing his pants and jacket were made up of. Naruto pulled the suit out, and as he did he had something heavy fall from the suit, and onto his foot. Naruto opened his mouth in a silent scream of pain, and dropped the suit onto his other foot. When he did, he once again felt something heavy land on his foot. He let out another silent scream of pain, and started to bounce from one foot to the other, hoping to relieve them of some pain. This didn't go on for long before he lost his balance and landed flat on his butt. From there he picked up both of his feet, and starting blowing on them, and doing anything he knew to take the pain away. The whole time he was doing this, the Hokage once again was busy snapping photos of Naruto's antics. From the first weight plate falling, to the scene of Naruto on the floor with his big toes in his mouth sucking on them. The sights of Naruto with both legs like that was too much. The Hokage, Ibiki, and Anko all broke out in loud peals of laughter. Anko was laughing so hard at the sight, that she was rolling on the floor holding her sides. Even Hikari was having a few laughs at Naruto's expense. What's so funny? I think I broke my toe here. And all of you are just laughing at me. Naruto, ignoring the pain, jumped up, and started to throw a temper tantrum. He was stomping his feet on the ground, and waving his hands and arms like a madman. If he was able to, his yells would be echoing off the walls of the office. I'm sorry Naruto, I should have warned you about that. This is the weight suit that was bought yesterday, now please just calm down. We are sorry we were laughing at you, but it was just too funny. Try the suit on now, you will have to strip down to just your underwear, and put the suit on over that, then your regular clothes. Naruto calmed down as the Hokage spoke to him. He gave everyone the best dirty look he could muster, and started to undress. Once down to just his boxers, Anko and the Hokage had to cover their mouths to hold back the laughs invoked by the sight of Naruto's choice of boxers. This however didn't stop the Hokage from taking pictures of Naruto trying to fit into the weight suit, and flopping around on the floor in his boxers, with the suit up to his knees. After this Naruto quickly climbed into the suit, and got dresses once again. Now, there are no weights in the suit right now, but once you leave the village, Ibiki and Anko will put some in. Once they do, it will be hard for you to move around. Just giving you a warning about it. Now off all of you go. Once again they all spared a quick bow, with Naruto giving a dirty look to the Hokage, one that promised payback of some form. It took them little time to get of the east gate of the village, and on the road leading east towards the coast. After an hour of traveling through the woods, Ibiki called a stop inside of a clearing. Alright Naruto, time to put some weights in the suit. You know what to do. Naruto quickly striped down, and eagerly awaited the chance to see what the big deal was about the weight suit. Ibiki thought it best to start out with 2-pound weights, and placed them in the 4 slots on each leg, and the 4 slots on the arms, giving Naruto a total of 32 extra pounds. Ibiki then helped Naruto get dressed. Once dressed, Naruto was having a hard time moving around. He took a few minutes trying to move his arms and legs, and once it looked like he was able to move somewhat normally, they continued on the way to Wave Country. In about 2 weeks' time, the three had nearly made it to the coast. They had settled into a normal routine as they went along. First thing in the morning Anko would lead Naruto through some morning exercises. This was to help him get into shape, and get used to his added weight. He would do push-ups, sit-ups, and jumping jacks. Then she would take him out to the woods, and have him run back and forth, from her location, to the camp and back. This all started out hard for him to do, but he slowly got used to it. Hikari helped of course by boosting his stamina, and increasing his recovery rate. After his morning workout, Naruto would clean up inside of the nearest spring, then help to clean up the campsite. If there was nothing nearby to bathe in, he skipped that part and went straight to cleaning the site up. Then they would head out on the way to Wave Country. When they stopped for lunch, Anko would again take him aside, and practice his kunai and shuriken skills with him. From his throwing and handling, to close range and hand-to-hand combat with them. All of this Naruto soaked up, and quickly got the hang of handling them. Anko also showed him several other uses for kunai. From cleaning fish, to cutting fruits and vegetables. It almost seemed like she knew how to use a kunai for anything. She even cut her own hair with the things. After lunch, and the afternoon training was done with, they went back on the road. When dinner came around, Naruto would once again do exercises, and some kunai practice. After that Ibiki would start to try to teach him things about the country, and its past. He started off first with the Yondaime, since he knew Naruto knew some things about him. From there he branched out to the legendary 3 Sennin, and then onto the Sandaime, and worked slowly back. With each lesson he would branch out to someone, or something that was connected to something before that. At the end of the first week, Ibiki gave Naruto a test to see what all he could remember. To his and Anko's surprise, he was able to recall almost everything perfectly on the written test. When asked if Hikari was helping him, Naruto answered no to it, and was very honest and truthful about it. They were both surprised that he could be so smart at such an age, and this was without any kind of formal education, or learning experience for the last year. They both had high hopes for him once he got to the academy. They might even be able to talk the Hokage into letting him enter a little early. During these trips, Naruto also practiced things with Hikari. At night, once they were sure Ibiki and Anko were asleep, Naruto would sneak out into the woods. There he would use scrapes of cloth from his old clothes to help practice the use of his new senses. At first they hit him hard, causing him to feel pain from all the new senses. From the sights, sounds, and smells, it almost overloaded his system. Thankfully, Hikari had told him what to do to help limit this. When he was working with his sight, he would blindfold himself with a few layers of torn cloth. Then, he would slowly start to unwrap them, and let his eyes get used to the light. This of course wasn't too hard at night, but it hurt like hell during the day. He managed to get the full use of his new eyes halfway through the first week. One of the first things he noticed with his enhanced sight was that he saw things in greater detail. He could see the texture of the tree bark, and the veins of the leaves. He also noticed that at night, things were as clear as day to him. All of this was amazing to him. He was enjoying being able to see in such detail. He found that he could focus, and zoom in. He was able to see things that were several feet, and yards ahead of him perfectly clear. He also found out that he could almost see a greater distance away. How far he was never sure, but he knew with enough focus he could see a long way. He next worked with his hearing. Hikari warned him it would hurt, and it would be overwhelming. So before starting he once again used the torn cloth to put in his ears. Once done, Hikari enhanced his hearing. At once he could hear all kinds of sounds. Sounds that no normal human could hear. From the sound of things crawling and digging in the dirt beneath him, to the sounds of bugs crawling across the trees. He could even hear the snoring of Anko in the camp, and the sound of a river that was nowhere near them. Hikari started to tell him to block things out, to focus on one sound. This helped to filter the other noises out, and slowly from there he got used to it. He let himself become more aware of the things around him. He could hear things right around him. The bugs crawling, squirming, flying around. He could hear the wind blowing through his hair, and the undergrowth. He slowly started to hear the sounds of the campsite better, and the sound of the river. He listened to each sound, and sorted them away. Almost into a mental filing cabinet, for future uses. This way he would remember the sounds for future uses, and be able to identify them. He gradually took the cloth pieces out, and braced himself for the sounds once again. This time it didn't hit him as hard, and he managed to adjust to it quicker. By the time he was done, he noticed it was almost dawn. He quickly hurried back to the campsite, and jumped into his bag. With his hearing, he noticed the same things as with his sight. When he focuses on a sound, he could hear it perfectly, and was able to tell from which direction it was coming from. He experimented with it some too. During the day, he listened to things while they walked. He noticed he could hear the heartbeats of everyone around them. He could hear the breaths leaving each person as they breathed out and in. He was able to heart all the animals in the woods around them, and hear Ibiki grumbling about Anko's behavior at times when he went to bathe. After taking a few days to rest, he got ready to train with his next enhanced sense, smell. This one Hikari and Naruto decided to do during the day first. When Hikari triggered it, his nose was overloaded with all the scents coming into it. He smelled the moist dirt of the ground around the path. The smell of all sorts of animal excrements. Those he quickly tried to ignore. He could smell the dango, which she hadn't had in weeks, Naruto asked her. He could smell the sake that both Ibiki and Anko would drink at night sometimes. All of these things were new to him. He could even smell blood, from a fresh kill in the woods. When it came time to kill something for dinner, the smell of blood nearly overwhelmed his new ability. He quickly got it under control, and learned from Hikari that it could become extremely useful as a ninja. The scent of dinner cooking was enough to make him drool, just thinking about how great the food would be. A normal 3 or 4 day trip at ninja speed, which was jumping from tree to tree at high speeds, turned into a 2.5 week trip. This is partly from the stops for 3 meals a day, and the training of Naruto. None of the 3 cared though. They all enjoyed the time together. Naruto got to see sides of Ibiki and Anko that not many people have seen before. He learned that Ibiki was a great cook, able to make anything they found out in the woods a meal worthy of any restaurant in Konoha. Anko was also a different person out here. She was more light-hearted and carefree. She seemed to be an entirely different person from the one he had seen in the city. She was more open with her feelings, and she even told Naruto a little of her past slowly, and told things to him that she never really told to others. Both Ibiki and Anko were also surprised at the changes in themselves and each other. Ibiki had never acted this way before, at least not in front of anyone. The same applied with Anko, she never let anyone see this side of her. She was afraid people would see it as a weakness for her, and try to take advantage of it. Both were surprised in the changes from the other person. But they both knew that only one person was responsible for this change. Uzumaki Naruto. Ibiki and Anko were happy, for once they could drop the masks they would wear in front of everyone in the village. For once they could be themselves, and relax a little. They were both enjoying this time together with Naruto. After 2.5 weeks of travel, they were at the coast finally. They were in a small village that offered services for crossing over to the small island country of Wave Country. Shortly after they arrived, they managed to get on a boat and head across to the first island that made up Wave Country. When they arrived, they were in a small village that still seemed to be doing good for itself. Once there, Ibiki and Anko decided on getting a couple of rooms at an inn for the night. Once they had settled in, Naruto let them in on some news. Waving his hands to get their attention, he started to write, "I have to go alone from here. I can't say where I am going, since I don't want to risk you following me. I'm not sure how long I will be gone, but at the most a week should be enough. I'm going to need to take some things with me. Food, water, the usual things. Who knows, I might be able to talk Hikari Ne-chan to let me bring some things back besides what I am looking for. So I'll see you guys in a week, don't get into any trouble without me." Naruto had to add his little fox-like smile at this. He knew they could handle themselves, but he wanted to see them fight, since he had only been able to see them do little things with their skills. During the trip, they had to increase the weight some more, from all the training in the morning, and at night, Naruto was able to quickly adapt to the weight load. So they ended up boosting his load to 5-pound weights in each pocket on his arms and legs, bringing him up to 80 pounds. Naruto was almost able to move just as freely with this weight now, and had promised Anko that he would continue the morning workout. So Hikari had little doubt he would be in much trouble should he have to run. If he was, he still had the Kitsune illusion that could protect him. Over the last few weeks, Naruto had also been working on that technique, and was almost able to use it at will a 1/4 of the time he wanted to. Other times it would still only work when he was afraid or in danger. After he was given food, water, and some money, he headed out to the forest outside of the village. Once there, he walked for about 30 minutes, before heading back towards the coast. When he got back to the coast, he followed the shoreline north, till he could see a second island. By this time it was nearly night, and Naruto stopped and did his nighttime exercises, and had a cold meal. He continued this path for 2 more days, he even took short runs, Hikari told him to do this, till at last he was at the northernmost point of Wave Country. From there he went into the woods once again, and looked around for, and listened for a waterfall. He looked for almost 2 hours before he finally heard, and smelled the waterfall. Walking towards it, Hikari had some final words of warning. Ototo, be careful. I have no idea what may have moved into this lair since I last left it. The last time I was here was nearly 100 years ago. In that time, a number of lesser demons could have come, or better yet, another demon lord. So, how is another demon lord moving in supposed to be better? That could cause all sorts of problems for me. They could try to kill me. What am I supposed to do then? Calm down, I was fairly well liked among the other lords, so when they feel my power coming from you, they should not do anything. If they do, then we might have to do something I've wanted to hold off on. Let's just hope no one decided to move in, okay? Don't think of anything else. Naruto couldn't help but to think about what could happen if another lord was in the lair. While walking to the waterfall, he had not noticed anything out of the ordinary. No genjutsu, no strange animals, markings, scents, or anything. What if someone found a way to break through? What if another lord was inside? What would he do? I know you are scared, but trust me. The reason you did not see any genjutsu is because I am with you. With me inside of you, and my power in you, it will not affect you. So don't get too worked up about that. It is nothing to worry about. With those last words, Naruto nodded his head, and walked towards the cliff wall. Once there, he turned towards the waterfall, and walked to it. At first, even with his enhanced vision, he could not see anything. But as he got closer he could see a cave behind the falls. Finally he was at the falls, and inched on the small ledge behind it. He was careful to stay right up against the wall, that was until he fell backwards into the cave opening. Damn it, I wish you would have said something, Nei-chan. Naruto pulled himself up, and pulled a lantern out from his pack. Lighting it with a flint rock, just like Ibiki taught him, he walked further into the cave. Naruto had no idea how long he walked, but he noticed that he could no longer smell and hear the waterfall. All he could smell was stale air, and dust. Even the air tasted dusted when he opened his mouth to breathe. After walking for who knows how long, he finally came to a wide chamber. Once there he followed the instructions given to him. Naruto, first thing you need to do is head to the wall on the right. There should be a groove in the wall there. Get your flint out, and make a spark in the groove, and jump back as fast as you can. Thankfully, the groove is at the same level as your arms stretched out above you all the way. Hurry up, and remember, jump back after you make the spark. Naruto walked to his right, and reached his hands up. Feeling along the wall, and stretching, he found the groove. He reached into his pack, and pulled out his flint. Reaching up again, and remembering the words, he make a quick strike with the flint, and jumped back as fast as he could. The second the spark hit the groove, it came to life. Fire raced along the groove, and throughout the cave. Some of the lines of fire raced across the ceiling, forming intricate designs. Others did the same, racing along the walls, and down halls, going deeper into the cave, all sweeping around, forming designs. Naruto stood there amazed at the sight before him. On the wall was the symbol for light, or Hikari. On the ceiling of the cave, there was the design of a 9-tailed fox outlined in fire. On another wall, that had no fire racing around it, was an ornate tapestry. On the tapestry was a golden 9-tailed fox, standing over a small village. The villagers were gathered around the fox, all looking happy, almost as if they were celebrating something. Each villager had their arms raised into the air, with gifts placed upon them. Ah, I remember that village. I was the protector of them. They were a small village, who only wished to live in peace, and asked for nothing else. They would live off of the land, and what they took from the land, they also gave back. The villagers would pay their respects to each thing. If they killed wild game, they would pray for its soul to travel safely, and thank it for allowing them to kill it. They thanked the clouds when rain came, and watered their crops. They were a very spiritual group of people. I respected them for that. They led a simple life, and were kind to everyone who came to their village. They were the ideal group of humans. If the world was covered in them, there would never had been a need for some of the destruction that was done. They worshipped me, and thanked me. They even gave me gifts, some of which are still here in this cave today. Weapons, robes, fine silks, just about anything, including food. They were some of the only humans I ever walked around in front of while in my human form. But enough about memory lane, we need to find another gift that they gave to me. Aside from all the things a girl could want, or a god being worshipped wanted, they gave me things to keep safe. I would store things for them, things they wished to never be destroyed. One of those would happen to be the scrolls for sign language. They should be along the wall, under the tapestry. Be careful with them though, they are old, and could fall apart if not handled properly. Naruto walked over to the wall, and looked around. He saw shelves there, and large piles of gold and silver. He also saw things he had never seen before, pieces of metal, or so he guessed, that he could not describe. He continued to look around, but still found nothing. Anyo, Ne-chan, I don't see any scrolls. I see gold, silver, some other strange metals. I also see weapons, and armor, as well as clothes. But I do not see any scrolls. Then I am sorry, Ototo. It seems someone must have come and taken the scrolls. I wish they would let me know when they do things like this. They could have at least left a note or something. Of all the inconsiderate things a demon could do. Borrowing things without asking, and not leave a note to let me know where it is. I bet you Ragnarok did this, he always does things like this, I know he must have been the one to do it. Damn dragons and always wanting to learn things. They will never be happy till they know all there is to know about the world. Oh, I am sorry Naruto. Even I am prone to temper tantrums. I just get pissed when people take things like this without asking, saying, or leaving a note. Now we have no idea where it might be. Okay, so scratch that plan. We may have to go a while without you being able to talk, you might have to write everything down. Here she could tell Naruto was starting to get upset. I truly am sorry, I wish there was something else I could do for you. I will think about things we could do. But I cannot make any promises for you right now. I wouldn't want to get your hopes up too much. I understand Ne-chan. I just wish there was something else we could do. I don't want to go through the rest of my life without a voice. I know I am going to get picked on, and who knows what other trouble I might get into. I just want to be able to talk to people. I want to tell Anko Ne-chan, and Ibiki Aniki. I want to talk to them, and call out to them. I know it must be frustrating for them to have to stop everything just to read something that I want to say. Naruto broke down in tears here, silently sobbing to himself. Thinking he would never be able to say the many things he wanted to say to his family, and maybe his friends when he got them. Ototo, please don't cry, we will find a way to fix this problem. It just might take some time. People will pick on you, but you have to remember, you have Ibiki, Anko, and myself that will always be there for you. No matter what we do, or you may do, none of us will see it as a burden. We will always love you, no matter what happens. Nothing will change that. You just need to be strong. Know that we will be there, if not in person, then in your mind, and in your heart. Know that we will do anything for you. We care for you, and nothing you do will change that. Even if Anko and Ibiki have to read what you say to them, they will still love you the same they do now. So please cheer up. When I see you crying, it makes me want to cry with you. I'm sorry, Nei-chan. I just don't know if I can handle it. I don't know if I will be able to become a good ninja now. I want to do my best, but like this I don't know if I can. Now you are just being foolish, Naruto. I know you can do it. Ibiki and Anko, even the Hokage believe that you can do it. We all believe you can, and we will all help you however we can. All that needs to be done is for you to believe in yourself, and never stop believing. Do everything you can to reach for that dream. Do not let anything get in your way. Don't doubt yourself, or anything. Doing that, you will never become what you dreamed of. Once you have a dream, you can't give it up because of something like this. You have to fight for it, with everything you have. Once you reached it, you hold on to it with everything you have, and never give up on it. You protect your dream, willing to give up your own life for it. I can tell you now, that is what the Yondaime did. He dreamed of keeping the Leaf Village safe. He loved his village, and the people inside of it. He gave his life to stop me, and I'm sure he wouldn't expect anything less from the person he selected Personally to be my cage. He would expect them to do the same. Now enough of this, we should be heading back now. I'm sure Ibiki and Anko are waiting for us. We may not have found what we wanted, but we have done a great deal on this trip. You've learned how to use your new senses, as well as how much Ibiki and Anko both care for you. I think that is more than enough treasure for this trip. But, I suppose if anything I can tell you where some nice goodies are to take back. Some of the things I mention will be useful for you one day, and may even be needed. With those final words, Hikari guided Naruto through the maze of tunnels, and pointed out things for him to take. After that she told him how to extinguish the flames that went throughout the cave. Naruto wasted no time after that in heading back to the small village where he left Ibiki and Anko. 3 days after Naruto left Hikari's lair. Along the way back, Naruto's mood slowly got better. He began to see the truth of the words Hikari spoke to him. His spirits started to rise, and he enjoyed his training more and more. He would run as fast as possible for short distances. This helped to build his endurance and stamina, along with his strength with the weights on him. By now Naruto was completely used to the weights he had on, and had to remember to take them off, instead of being able to tell right away, when he went to take baths in springs and small rivers. He continued the training Anko gave him, and Hikari had him increase it. Instead of just 10 push-ups and sit-ups, she had him doing triple. The same happened with his jumping jacks. Now, all of this might not seem like much to most people, but to a 5-year-old, who was only used to running from angry mobs, this was new to him, and tired him out the first few days he did it. After that he started to get used to the strain that was put on his muscles. He would also talk with Hikari some when he had some downtime, or when training. This was mostly to help him learn to multitask, even though he had no idea what he was doing. Hikari would often just start talking with him about anything, or ask him questions about the things Ibiki had taught him. During the time though, he never got much practice with his shuriken and kunai. He only had a few live ones that he could use to help him hunt and fish. From there he worked on the other skills Anko showed him for a kunai. After the 3 days, Naruto was back at the small coastal village, and dragging himself down the street. He had run for most of the day, and he could feel it now. It was about midday, and he was dead tired. He slowly made his way back to the inn he had last seen Anko and Ibiki at. As he got to the inn, he walked in and started to head up the stairs to his room. Before he got halfway up, he heard his name called out from below. "Oh Naruto-kun," thinking about heading to the room without saying, "Hi," to your big sister. Get your scrawny butt down here, you little brat, shouted Anko from a table at the back of the inn. Naruto only smiled, and made his way back down the stairs and over towards where Anko and Ibiki, who was hard to see in the corner, were sitting. As he walked up, he raised a hand and waved, "Hi," to both. He had his backpack and his large duffel bag on his shoulders, and was barely able to stand. His legs were killing him from running for so long with all the extra weight. "Looks like you made it back in one piece, shrimp. Want to grab something to eat before heading up to get cleaned? They have some really great dango here. Let's get you some and then you can get cleaned up and take a nap." With those words from Anko, Naruto dropped his bags to the floor and climbed into the chair, while Anko ordered him some food and a pitcher of water. "We'll save the talking about what you found later. Right now, just drink some water. You look like you are dead on your feet, kid. After you eat, don't worry about cleaning up, cause it looks like you need a soft bed for a while." Naruto nodded his head as he grabbed a glass of water and sipped it all down as fast as he could. After the first glass, he waved for something to write on, just to tell them a few things. "I have a slave driver in my head. She wanted me to run all the way back once we got within eyesight of the village. So I ran all the way. From the hill about 5 miles away from here to the northeast." Anko laughed at the thought of the Kyuubi pushing him this hard to train. Ibiki just shook his head in disbelief. Naruto quickly finished his small meal and got up to head to the room. Before he could even think about getting out of the chair, Ibiki had picked him up and started towards the stairs and the room. Anko stopped and picked up his bags. When she went to get the duffel bag, she was surprised it nearly weighed as much as Naruto weight suit. Blasted fox. With this extra weight, we are really going to have to increase his next load. Wonder what all she had him pack in here in the first place. This is way too much for just some scrolls and books. Later that night, Naruto finally woke up later on that night to see Anko sitting next to his bed in a chair, with her head resting on the bed. "It's about midnight, and she has been sitting here since they brought you up. I would say try to take a quick bath and get back to bed. But I don't feel tired anymore. I was hoping to talk with them and give them those presents you let me take for them. There will be enough time for that in the morning. Right now, you could either take a bath or go back to sleep. You may feel fine, but you are exhausted. Your muscles need time to relax a little more. Remember, you did have a long run, and almost all of it non-stop. So don't argue with me. And whose idea was it to do that? I sure didn't think it up. I could get you to run laps around the village when we get back. That might be even better than what we did today. No, that's okay, I'll just go back to sleep then. You really are mean at times, Nei-chan. Yes, I know, but then again, every little brother thinks that their older sister is mean. I'm sure when Anko and Ibiki find out how much your duffel weighs, they will think the same thing I did. So they will probably increase your training, and your weights too. So I win." After that, Hikari turned around from the front of the cage, and gave the V sign to Naruto behind her back. Grumbling to himself, Naruto laid back down, and fell into a nice warm and deep sleep. Next morning, it was about 9 in the morning before Naruto finally woke up. When he did, the first thing that caught his attention was the smell of eggs and bacon somewhere in the room. Sitting up, and rubbing his eyes to clear the, Naruto looked around the room and saw Ibiki standing at the door with a tray of food. "Hey Naruto, Anko, I got breakfast for you too. Since it seems like you wanted to sleep in, thought I would bring it on up." Naruto looked around the room for Anko, and didn't see her. That was when both him and Ibiki looked towards the door leading to the bathroom. They could both hear the humming coming from the bathroom clearly now. Clearing his throat, Ibiki knocked on the door, and stated once again, loudly, "Hey Anko. I brought some food up for you and Naruto. I'll just leave yours on the bed, and let Naruto eat his. Thought I'd hurry up if I were you, since Naruto could probably eat a whole buffet by himself. Ibiki gave a wink towards Naruto as he placed the food on Anko's bed, and handed Naruto his. Once you both are done eating, we can talk. Just try not to eat Anko's too, she's been worried about you, and hasn't had much to eat lately. If you are feeling up to it, we might be able to head back to Konoha tonight, or we could wait till tomorrow morning. We'll talk about that later though. While Ibiki was saying this, Anko came out of the bathroom with a scowl on her face. You know Ibiki, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were like that pervert, Kakashi. If that were true, I'd have to use a kunai to make you less of a man. Ibiki got a worried look on his face when Anko said that from behind him. Thankfully though, I took some clothes into the bathroom with me. I know Hikari and the Hokage wouldn't want me prancing around in front of Naruto. So be glad I wanted him to sleep in here last night. Hehe. Sorry about that Anko, for some reason I expected you to be awake already, and waiting for Naruto to get up. Seeing how back home you had to be at work around daylight. Guess you are getting a little off your schedule. And don't ever group me with Kakashi and the likes of him. I wouldn't be caught dead walking around with that book of his. Nodding, Anko sat down on her bed and ate her plate of food. There was silence in the room for the next 20 minutes. Naruto finished his plate, and went to the bathroom with a clean set of clothes in hand. He took his time taking a hot shower to relax his sore legs, and try to take the aches and pains out of the rest of his body. He stood in the middle of the stream from the shower head just soaking in the warmth, and relaxing. After his shower, he changed into his clean clothes, and walked out to see everything cleaned up, and Anko and Ibiki sitting on one bed waiting for Naruto. So, ready to tell us what all happened? Asked Anko. Naruto nodded, and began to write out everything that happened since he left. He told them everything, except for the things he brought back. When he told them of the scrolls not being there, they both were visibly saddened by the news. When he said he was fine with it, and would still try his best to complete his dream, they were both glad it didn't change him much. Once he was done, he went over to his duffel bag, and brought it to his bed, and started to look through it. Inside he found what he was looking for. Reaching in, he pulled out something that was about the size of Anko's forearm, and covered in red silk, with golden silk threaded through it in the design of a giant dragon. Whatever was in the silk, could not be that big, but just the silk alone had to have made it very expensive. Naruto got up, and picked up the small silk-wrapped item. He walked over to Anko, and handed it to her. Anko was amazed at the design of the silk, and how amazing it felt in her hands. She slowly unwrapped the silk, which seemed to come in several layers. Each layer had the dragon in a different scene. One with the dragon flying through the air over a mountain, the next with the dragon circling the mountain. The next with it wrapped around the mountain. The final layer had the dragon wrapped around the mountain, with its mouth open breathing fire down the sides of the mountain. Once the final layer was removed, she saw a small tanto. The tanto's sheath and handle were made out of ebony, and had once again, the design of a dragon etched into it. When she went to pull the blade out, it slid out without a sound. The handle was big enough for her to be able to use it one-handed, while the blade covered the rest of the length of the weapon. The blade itself seemed to be a mixture of red swirls, and regular metal, or steel in this case. The blade was slim, flat on one side, and was razor sharp on the other, sharper than any of her kunai have ever been. The swirls always seemed to be moving, and Anko would have sworn she had too much sake if she had not known where it came from. The handle of the tanto was shaped like a dragon's head, with the mouth and teeth pointing towards the blade of the tanto. The tanto she was holding now was far from your normal tanto. She could feel the power flowing through it while she held it in her hands. She looked at Naruto, wondering what was special about it, and with an amazed and confused look on her face. She was amazed that Hikari and Naruto would give her something crafted this way. There was no one in this world right now that could beat the craftsmanship of this weapon. She was confused as to how they could give something this beautiful to her. She wasn't sure if she deserved a weapon like this. Naruto quickly grabbed his scroll and pen to explain about the weapon. Hikari Ne-chan says it is a weapon that was forged with the help of the Dragon Lord Ragnarok. He helped a village of expert forgers create weapons that could be surpassed by none. Sadly, this village has long since ceased to exist, but some of the weapons are still around today. This one is called Dragon's Fang. It is forged out of tempered steel, tempered by the flames of Ragnarok. The sheath and handle are etched ebony wood, polished to a perfect shine. The only light it will reflect is from the designs on it. It also has the ability for produce flames across its blade when chakra is channeled into it. These flames will burn anything, except the user, and the specially treated handle and sheath. Anything else will be burned. These flames are said to be the power of Ragnarok that he put into the forging process. Also, if you slice your hand with it, and drip your blood on the blade, only you would be able to pull it from its sheath. This was a trait that Ragnarok demanded to be placed on all his weapons. The reason for this was so that only those who were given the weapons freely, and not had them forcefully taken away could use them. Once your blood is on the blade, only you, or someone of your blood could use it. Hikari Ne-chan also says there are special seals carved inside of the sheath that helps in this. She won't explain it, but she believes that once you have placed blood on it, it will stay yours, and no one else would be able to use it. The only way for someone else to use it would be you handing it to them. The special seals in the sheath are designed for this purpose. Hikari Ne-chan and I thought it was a good weapon for you. She thought you might like it, since you prefer using small bladed weapons in combat. She also thought it might be helpful for cooking a certain snake. She cheered and hollered, and cried out for roasted snake when she thought of giving this to you. Mostly because both of you seem to hate Orochimaru so much. Anko was speechless at this. A weapon, that a demon lord helped to forge, from a long-dead civilization, was given to her by another demon lord, who shared the same taste in enemies as herself. Anko was really starting to like the way Hikari thought. Naruto, no, Ototo, I don't know what to say. Thank you just doesn't seem to be enough. But I will always take care of this, and will remember both you and Hikari for this. Thank you both. As she was finishing, she got up off the bed and gave Naruto a big hug, thanking him once again for the present. Once Anko released him, went back to his paper and started writing. I'm sorry Aniki, I couldn't think of anything I saw there that you would like. Hikari Ne-chan was the same way. Maybe another time I will be able to find you something if we ever come back. I brought back some things that Hikari Ne-chan wanted me to use when I got older. As well as something to replace the bulky weight suit. It is a small set of ankle weights, and wrist weights. They have a special seal of some kind on them, that increase the weight in them, but only Hikari can activate them. Something about demon training techniques, with only demons able to activate them. The seal can only be seen by demons too, so there doesn't seem to be a way to copy them. When he finished, he raised his pants leg, and showed them the ankle weights he now had on. They didn't look special, they actually just looked like any other run-of-the-mill weights you could get. They next looked at his wrists, and the weights there. Once again, nothing looked special about them. They almost looked just like regular weight bands, or wrist bands. The rest of the stuff in my bag is things she wants me to use when I become a ninja, and not before then. If I do, she said she would use a special technique to send them to another one of her lairs. I dunno if she is bluffing or not, and don't want to test her. Anko nodded, and looked to Ibiki. Ibiki nodded, and stood up before addressing Naruto. Well, it looks like you had a fun time, and no worries about not getting me anything. I don't use many weapons besides the standard set for most jonin. But like I said, no hard feelings. I think, since you seem to be pretty well rested, and Anko agrees, we should head on back to the village. And since your Nei-chan is willing to help with training, we will let her set the weight for your new weights. I don't think we brought enough for the suit to begin with, so this helps us out. On the way back, we will be doing the same things we did on the way here. The only difference is we might try to teach you a few new things. Most of which will be simple taijutsu, with no weapons. So I hope you are ready to gain some nice new aches and pains. Your normal morning and evening workouts are going to be tripled, according to Anko. So, instead of the 30 push-ups, sit-ups, and jumping jacks, Anko is going to make you do 100, just for the nice round number. So pack the rest of your things up, we are going to try to make it back as soon as we can. Naruto nodded his head, and scrambled to pack his things up, and get ready to go. It took him less than 10 minutes to pack everything up, and meet them downstairs. The trip back was fairly uneventful. They fell back into the routine they developed weeks before. In the morning was Naruto's workout with Anko, consisting of 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 jumping jacks. After that he would do the running from the camp, to whatever position Anko selected. This often changed each day, and was never the same. Ibiki also continued his history lessons with Naruto, often covering other countries this time, and their relation with the Fire Country. This time though, he would give Naruto a test every other day, just to test how well he retained the information. It almost seemed as if they had only been on the road for days, and not the 2 weeks it actually was. Everyone keeping busy must have had something to do with it. Enjoying each other's company was also a big help for everyone involved too. Along the way, Anko was joking around more, and playing little jokes on Naruto. She also told him some about the other Jonins, and some of the Chunins of the Konoha. She also told him about several of the jokes she had played on them herself. But when she did, she made sure Naruto knew not to tell anyone else. If he did, she would shave his head bald. Naruto also learned simple taijutsu skills from Ibiki and Anko during the lunch breaks. This took the place of his weapons training every other day. They both planned on teaching him more, but that would have to wait till he was a little older, and able to use his chakra better. Once they arrive at the gates of Konoha, Naruto was happy to be back home. He knew not many liked him in the village, but he still had Anko and Ibiki with him. He was mostly happy to be home, and able to get live weapons. Ones that are not as blunt as his current ones. Anko had drilled into him the proper uses of his weapons, and he had become pretty good with them for a child. So they both promised to get him new ones. He was also glad to be home, because now he would get to see where he would live for the next few years of his life. He could hardly wait to see what Anko's and Ibiki's houses looked like. They arrived home late at night, and were told the Hokage would see them in the morning. With that they went their separate ways. Ibiki went to his apartment, and Anko to her own, along with Naruto. As they walked, Anko talked to him about a few house rules he would have to follow. Well, first thing you need to know is that my place is pretty small right now. Kind of a one-bedroom place, with a small living room, with the kitchen built into it. I never expected things to change like this. So as soon as I can, I plan on getting us a better place to stay, that way you can have your own room, and it would be more comfortable for us both. For now, you will have to sleep on the couch I suppose, since it folds out. I'd let you stay in the bed with me, but it is small, and I wouldn't want people getting the wrong ideas. Things normally start around my place at 5 a.m. sharp. If you aren't up by then, you might get left behind. So even if we get to bed late, be ready to get up early. Once up, we will head to one of the surrounding training areas for our morning workouts. This time though, you will be running laps around the village. To start off, I think 2 laps would be fine. Haha, told you she would have you running around the place. But don't worry, the village isn't that big. At least it won't be once you get used to it and running hundreds of laps. I hate you. One good thing I guess is there won't be anyone to bother me. No one throwing rocks, bottles, and other things at me. Hey Naruto, you listening to me? Don't zone out, you might miss something important. Now, don't worry about answering the phone or anything, I have an answering machine for that when I'm not home. Don't answer the door if I'm not home either. You never know who it could be, and seeing how both of us have a few people who hate our guts, it wouldn't do to have them catching you by surprise like that. So only answer it as I am home, that way I can take care of things if needed. No digging through my clothes either. Not going to have you turn into a pervert like most of the guys in this village. If you do, you better hope that Hikari can regenerate lost body parts. I will hurt you so much you would wish you were dead. So, do not become a pervert. She would have to get in line. You turn perverted, I would make you pay myself. And I can do it quicker than her, since I live in your body. Naruto gulped at the dual warning from his 2 big sisters. Dinner might be takeout most of the time. I have no idea on how to cook, so we might just hit up the local dango places most of the time. Don't touch my sake in the fridge, or any other drinks in there. You will only drink water, juice, and/or milk. Most of the time though, I wouldn't touch the milk. I have a habit of letting it expire on me. What else? Oh yeah, you will help clean up the place. Don't worry about my room, I will handle it, unless I tell you to. The washing machine and stuff for laundry is just outside my apartment. Hopefully when we get the new place we will have our own, I hate having to wait to wash clothes. No loud noises late at night. I don't care what time you go to bed, just wake up when I say, and we will be fine. If you have friends over, just try to keep it down when you are playing around, k? I think that is about it for now. Oh, here's my place. Anko led Naruto up 2 flights of stairs, and up to the 3rd floor. She walked to the apartment numbered 359, and was about to unlock the door till she saw a piece of paper hanging on the door. Humph, wonder if I forgot to pay the water bill again. Dear Anko, I have taken the liberty of finding that new place you were looking for, and moved most of your things there. I have also furnished it, and had some things for Naruto delivered. Your new place is on the outskirts of the village, near the training ground located by the memorial stone. It used to belong to a close friend of mine, and I think he would insist on you 2 living there. It shouldn't be too hard to find. Just head east into the woods around the memorial stone, and you should find it. The place is very isolated, and not many have been there in the last few years. The only ones who go by there anymore are the ones who I pay to clean the place up every so often. Privacy should not be a problem, and it has a dojo for you to train it. Also, Anko, just don't throw any of your wild parties there. I know how you love them. The refrigerator and cabinets are all stocked, so there should be no need for shopping. I hope you enjoy the place. Take care, and enjoy. Sarutobi, Sandame Hokage. Looks like we got evicted while we were gone. Come on, the Hokage set up a new place for us, try to keep up with me. Naruto nodded, and they both took off. Naruto trailing Anko, even though she was hardly going that fast. Both knew he would get faster, till then she wanted to stay close by him, since she knew some people might try to attack him again. They ran for about 30 minutes at Naruto's top speed, and finally came to the forest surrounding the memorial stone. Anko quickly headed east into the woods, and they kept going for another 45 minutes before they reached a small path leading to a two-story house. Naruto couldn't tell much about the house right now, since there was very little light. From what he could tell, the house looked to be bigger than the apartment complex Anko used to live in. Walking towards the front of the house, there was